Okay. So 8 of you here apart from me. Never mind. Let's begin the presentation so that we start on time and finish on time as usual. Can anyone please let me know, is the screen visible and am I audible clearly?
Yes, sir.
Great,
Visible and audible.
great. Just a minute. Yep. Okay. So for paid group members, this is a little continuation of the topic, but for free group members, this is in itself a new topic. The power of spoken words in our clinics. We all know the value of spoken words. There is a lot of literature on internet about it. But what exactly it does, I'll give you a very different insight on these aspects today. So let's hope that at the end of my presentation, I'm able to impart something new to all of you today. So along with that, I'll be giving you 7 wonders of communication. There are so many wonders. There is a list of around, say, 20, 25 wonders of communication, but I have just shortlisted 7 of them, which might be handy in our clinical practice for all of us. So, as usual, all my presentations will always begin with thanking the Lord Almighty who's given me much more than what I deserve. So, this is my brief biodata. Most of you are aware of it. So, this is the free group webinar number 1 after 21 webinars in December till December 2020. Lack of participation actually led me to postpone them for a later period to have another trial at it. So I'm making one trial in this week for practice management, maybe another trial for finance in the next week, and then I'll take a call. My look would be on the number of participants in the seminar, because if early morning doesn't suit, uh, at the end of the day, 8 p.m. doesn't suit, then no time will suit anyone. Then probably it is lack of interest only. So never mind. Let's say focus on today's topic, the power of spoken words. So you can keep noting down your questions. We'll take up queries separately in the end. And I hope my presentation would be lasting about 60-65 minutes from now, about an hour. So you can grab your cup of tea and hop on to the process. So we all know that the words are one of the most powerful force, and they always say think before you speak, look before you leave. They always say words can be very dangerous. They can be actually more dangerous than the sword itself, and they can literally cut you into multiple pieces without actually hurting you physically. They can actually mentally disintegrate you as well. So whatever we choose, encouragement or destruction, it is all actually say part of life. And words have energy and power, with the ability ability to help, heal, hinder, hurt, harm, humiliate, and to humble. A proverb by Yehuda Berg. So words do matter, and we ought to look at those aspects in this presentation. And it is all about the diction, or the words we or vocabulary we use in our clinical practice. We actually say encounter predominantly two people in our work sphere, and two people, or I mean to say two sets of people broadly. One of them is our patients, and one of them is our staff. And staff encompasses everything: our consultants, our visiting, our assistant staff, our helper staff, or our say tertiary staff, whatever it is. So it just encompasses everything. So I believe that communication is one of the most crucial concepts, and whatever we actually share regarding our clinic, regarding our practice, regarding our patients, regarding our data, whatever it is, how we are going to treat it, it is all based on effective communication. So, exactly, this presentation is not about purely communication, as the title may suggest. It is, of course, about more about the speaking words. But yes, the boundaries are sometimes indistinct, and we cannot actually fail. According to a study in USA, a, say poor communication has been a factor in 1700 plus patient deaths and over 7.1.7 billion in malpractice suits. Of course, the malpractice suits are more common in those parts of the world. Of course, the favorite word used in any clinic is "I'll sue you." So, but then it does not undermine if there are no data or studies available in our part or in our country. This same encompassing the medical field, not only the dental field, is actually, this may be a bigger one in terms of number of deaths, maybe probably lesser in terms of malpractice suits comparatively, because this is less common over here. But nobody can take away from the fact that effective communication still holds good ground, and it actually saves on cost. It actually increases your efficiency. It increases your way of working. And how we actually talk with our patient is the one of the first steps as we begin our clinical journey. Whatever do a good setup in our practice, make a nice clinic with all the facilities available, with charming staff, if the way to talk is bad, we will not actually win many of the, say, followers. We'll have many detractors as well. Again, like many other factors, many other reasons, and many other skills that we don't learn, communication is also one of them, which we actually don't learn in our practice, in our college life as well. So there are so many things which uh, because we are into the business of dentistry, whatever we may call it as a noble profession or not, but it is. But we might be highly educated, we might be, say, our brains might be much used to gathering and, say, processing of data, whatever raw or, say, formal data. But whatever has to be the, say, summary of that data or processing of the information that we encounter from patient diagnosis, that still has to be conveyed to the patient. And that is where we actually need to understand. We understand the technical jargon, the medical or the dental jargon, or the, say, difficult words, but the patients may not. So they need to be actually told in a way that they realize this thing. Fortunately, it is not as difficult as we think that it is. The key always would be to empathize with them, and the dental issues should be discussed in a very, very compassionate way. And that actually again underlines the importance of first consultation and giving actually proper time to the patient. People or colleagues who are in a hurry to actually treat more and more in a day, they'll actually may end up earning more money, but they won't end up retaining more of patients. And when we actually talk with someone, we have to be very observant, we have to give keen attention, and there has to be purpose behind it. And again, the conversation has to be very tactful. Patients, it is not only about the way we talk to the patients in the first consultation, it is about to the talking to the patients in a way when we encounter different situations. 2 days back we had a webinar in paid group regarding patient criticism, how to take that, or maybe staff criticism, how to take that, and how to actually deal with the words of conversation. So there also the tactful way is required. Again, another important aspect is to control your anger. Already have a YouTube presentation on this, on anger management in your clinic, on the YouTube channel, on my YouTube channel, giving you, will be giving you a link in the end. But then these all things are a portion. These again, how you talk, how you convey. And trust me, everybody is not working in a way that while you talk to the patient, if the patient is criticizing you, there might be a few more sitting in your waiting area, in your reception area. And what impression does it make? How you talk. Ultimately, it boils down to patient conversion. Again, a topic I took up last week as well with the paid group. But then this is all a combination: the patient first consultation, the anger management in your practice, the patient conversion, the, say, patient criticism, how you take it, and how you actually understand these things. That is what is important. And then you need to understand that your words don't only matter, the tone also does. And believe me, many a times the tone makes a lot of difference. Uh, I belong to Punjab, the northern part of India. And trust me, as they say, Urdu is a very delicate language, very pleasing language. Punjabi is a very rude and a crude language. Even if we ask someone, I've given example this many a times. We call someone, "Oi, Edra," means please come here. If I translate it loosely, of course, there is no reference of please in that Punjabi word. "Oi, Edra," that means the initial response in Punjab usually is, "Oi, kanu kya tu?" Oi means whom did you call Oi? You can address me by my name, by my whatever, say, surname or synonym, or sorry, the prelude you want to attach to that. But you don't call me by a stranger or by that bio. And the next response usually is, "Bolda kidda tu?" Bolda kidda tu. That means, how do you talk to me? How are you talking to me? Better you mend your way to talk to me. Trust me, this is just a mutual exchange of calling someone. Come here. Whom did you address that with? Or whom, how did you call me that with? Just an exchange of 2 lines or 3 lines, and the relationship goes sour. And the same, of course, I'm not saying that we don't talk in Punjabi. Punjabi can be used in a finer way also, but this aspect holds good for English and Hindi as well, or any regional language, whatever you are using in your practice, Gujarati, Marathi, or whatever. Predominantly, my group members are from Gujarat and Maharashtra. So whatever language you are talking, the tone does matter. Again, if we talk in the same tone in Punjabi, the same conversation, oh, idhar aaja yaar, O was slightly less pronounced, and idhar aaja was slightly less, means come here. Attaching a say suffix at the end in the form of a yaar. So, oh, aa na yaar, koi gal nahi, fir ki ho gaya, 2 minute ruk ja. I'll come, please wait for 2 minutes. The conversation is same. Just trying to give you an example how the tone and the selection of words and a prefix and a suffix can actually make a difference sometimes. And this exactly happens in your communication with your patients, with your staffs. But then there are a few rules when you talk. You have to speak the truth. Avoid over exaggerations sometimes. I'm using both the words together. Over and exaggeration. Over and exaggeration, both are actually hypertrophied version of a, say, situation or a condition. But I always use them together most of the time when I have to explain this thing. Then be consistent in what you're saying. Don't use double standards in addressing people. I just gave you an example of addressing people in Punjabi. Then don't use your words to manipulate others. And most importantly, do not use your words to insult or belittle anyone. I just gave an example of that only. How dare you say me call, or how dare you call me Oe? So this is the way actually it all starts. And it does not mean how well behaved or how nice you are in your personal life, but what actually is your way of talking in your professional space. It actually decides decides your way of working. And trust me, words can't work alone. We say the power of spoken words, but words come with a lot of baggage as well, and the tone is number one of them. You just give an example. So if you use your words as bullets with the feeling of superiority and condemnation, we are not going to say restore it to love. Just go back to the Punjabi example I just gave you. But then, similarly, if you use it with a goodwill, supportive behavior, obviously everything would be positive. Nobody wants to listen to a negative thing. Nobody wants to be addressed in a negative way. Nobody wants to be listened or to be addressed in a rude way, or in a rude manner. So, your words, your voice inflection, your tone, your eye expression, your body language, your nostrils, your flaring of an ela, and all these things will actually determine your honest exchange with the patient. And trust me, I'm not talking about the personal life here. I'm talking about the professional life here. And that is what is always important. And the words are actually our habits, how we talk in our say clinical life. Most of us spend close to 8 to 9 hours in our practice. Most of us 8 hours go in sleep. So whatever is remaining is our informal conversation in our say family or in our other personal life. But then what we regularly see is actually what we are exposed to most of the time. So majority of time apart from sleeping is in your professional space. So some people carry their personal life or personal speech into professional life, and some carry it from professional to personal. Again, some people have a habit of using negative words and phrases over and again. ये तो हो ही नहीं सकता, आप जो मर्जी कर लो ये होगा ही नहीं. They're born with a negative mindset. And actually, the more you listen, as I say, people are known by their company that they keep. If you have a negative set of friends, trust me, this is going to become your behavior over the period of time. You are going to look at this scenario of your clinical life with a lot of negativity, and that actually will become your behavior in your, say, exchange with the patient. Not exactly in talking, but in your treatment rendering part as well. So I always say stay away from negativity. I try my best always. I usually even try to say stay away from any kind of say fight that goes on in my home. As an example for it. So if two people are fighting, I will not even listen to both of them negative. I said again, I have to find a common ground. So I feel actually more demotivated by that. And we all know many a times these interactions of negative behavior will actually drain you out because words have power over your body as well. And the commonest mistakes that we do in our practice, we actually try to cut off the patient when he is speaking. And then we sometimes try to assume ये आपके sister हैं या आपके wife हैं. We try to assume those things. Then we try to cross our arms while talking to the patients. So along with the words and the tone, the body language, the second most important part. So what are the commonest flaws, what I told here, the patient might notice about us in our first or usually the second interaction? Probably we might not be professionally dressed in our space. Again, a personal thing. But then some patients do expect a degree of professionalism in your practice. Then probably you didn't start off without addressing the patient properly. Then we assume the relationship of the accomplice wrongly. Then we try to interrupt while he or she was speaking. Then we actually ignored the fact that the patient might have had to wait long, and we didn't actually acknowledge or even apologize for that. Then we cross our arms. That actually means we have closed all the space for all the arguments, and we don't want to hear any such complaint. And then we may badmouth a colleague, which actually further demonstrates a lack of professional decorum. And this last thing, bad mouthing a colleague, this actually happens in most or say many of the clinics, and you can't actually deny that part, which is a very grave reality. But then we have to understand that this does not. So this is about the patient interaction. But when it comes to staff, how do we behave? We all need to understand that we call them a part of our family, but when it comes to say uh, treat them for their mistakes, we choose wrong words, we choose wrong situations, we choose wrong environment. Sometimes that is done in front of our spouse if the same is a dentist. Sometimes that is done in front of the patients. Sometimes that is done in the front of other staff members. The golden rule that I have been explaining since many years now, staff के साथ हमेशा one to one interaction when it comes to their mistakes. When you have to praise them, do it openly. But when you have to reprimand them, when you have to technically, if I call a wrong word, insult them, do that. And of course, you shouldn't do that. But if you are going to reprimand them strongly, which I loosely translate as insult, do that in the four walls of your chamber, where even your spouse might not be present. If it is a female staff member and your wife is a dentist, I'll let your wife better handle that. But then that should be there. That because otherwise it affects the morale of the team very, very strongly. Damages. See, I just gave you an example. This negativity which we talk, which we do, sometimes has a draining effect on our body as well. So if that does to you, doesn't it happen to the opposite person whom you are doing the same? So it actually, because one, if you are having multiple staff members and you're doing this to one staff, when you come back from the say chamber, the other staff member will still pause, say ask what happened to you. If the voice was not audible, it was say confined to the four walls of the clinic, the staff member might not reply in a positive or a negative way, might keep mum. Of course, there is an effect of your dant on the staff member, but then it slightly inhibits the communication, which actually disrupts the workflow as well. One staff member is supposed to pass on information sometimes to another for any patient related work, which the workflow might be disrupted. So make sure whatever these things happen, even in the closed chambers, they happen usually at the end of the day. Never at the start, usually not in the middle, but at the end of the day. So that the staff member has a whole night to reflect upon. And of course, it does not mean that even if you are doing that in a closed chamber, you are supposed to insult that staff member. You're still supposed to maintain your dignity, maintain your tone, maintain your say voice, all those things. Of course, your body language as well. So it actually, if you hurt your staff, this is actually going to hurt your patients as well in the longer run. And let me give you a few examples. What can it do? Lack of attention to detail at registration of front desk, not taking proper history, not taking proper examination, then again, not doing a good patient follow up, mislabeling any of the medicines or solutions that you have. Obviously, not by choice. Yes, some do say try to give it back. They have a nature, inherent nature in that sense. Not returning patient calls, and many more. Ultimately, what is it is doing? It is actually affecting your output. But on this slide, usually colleagues ask me, सर इसका मतलब ये है कि स्टाफ को गलती करने दें, उनको कभी डांटे ना. I told you the whole procedure to be done at the end of the day, to be done in the four closed walls when not even your spouse present, and still doing it maintaining your dignity, choosing your words carefully, choosing your tone carefully, and not shouting at them, and maintaining a proper body language, not making any wrong gestures. So all these things, it's not that we all are human, we are all prone to mistakes, even we might be making so many of them. But yes, we do need to make our staff realize about their mistake, but there is a way, as I told you. Because why it is important? Because staff satisfaction and patient satisfaction have a direct relation with them. And if the patients are not satisfied, they'll actually say there are so many avenues for them, particularly the social media. We discussed this 2 nights before. Of course, that presentation would be there in a month's time on YouTube as well. So patient criticism, online, offline, and in the form of Google reviews. Then patients actually, I have been again this concept I have been say promoting since many years now, that patients look at the total experience, and that is where we actually make a flaw in judgment. We believe that the patient is coming for price only. Pricing is, yes, a very important component, but it is not the only component. Patients want a good experience, patient wants to be treated well. ऐसे भी और वैसे भी, that the line I speak very commonly. ऐसे भी means treatment wise, वैसे में भी means behavior wise. So what is the total experience? How smooth was appointment making? How was the mood of the office? How was the decorum? How would say the upkeep of the clinic? How was the staff behavior? How was the waiting time? How say quickly they were acknowledged upon their arrival and informed about any delay if possible, or how did the treatment go? How good were the staff or the doctor about the homework, about the case, and about the history part? All those things. These all create a total, in one word, if I have to summarize, that create a total experience or a positive experience, if that all is goes in good vein. And similarly, if the employees, if they're unhappy and unmotivated or demotivated, they can actually make or break that experience, because you are not going to be the patient for the whole time. They're going to spend some time in the waiting area at the reception, probably post-op as well, as you finish your case and move on to another patient in another chamber. So they are going to be with the staff for those period of time. So they can be actually the difference makers in such a regard. So why does communication, yes, coming to the words as well, why does communication uh, have has so much of importance? Because we communicate to the living ones. You can't communicate to the non-living. You can't communicate to a chair or a table or a sofa. So you, but on the contrary, you don't have a choice. You can't actually, cannot not communicate, which actually makes a lot of difference. So communication is a process, a social process, and a reciprocal process. It is always two-way. Anybody else having an audio problem? So we got a chat message from Dr. Natali. Anybody having a problem with audio?
No, sir.
Okay. So why communication? It is fundamental. It is vital, because one can't live without it. You might be an introvert, you might be less talkative person, but you still need to communicate. So what are the common ways to communicate? Spoken words, they're the first way. Visual images, written words, and body language. Those who underestimate the say importance of body language, you can actually be in for a shock if I tell you that way. Of course, you might be knowing it. So, if I say words are the most powerful drug used by the mankind, and communication is a problem for us. The problem is that we are the most over communicated society. We send more and receive less. Two way. And electronic communication is not a substitute for face to face. An average person was exposed to, this is a 2015 data, was exposed to 10,000 messages a day, all combined. And we are talking about 6 years ahead of that, when the social media is at its peak, if I may say so. WhatsApp, uh, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, name the social media, and we all are there. And just take the example of WhatsApp only. We receive so many messages in a day. How many of us read all of them? Not. Not all of us, and not all of them. But then this is the overwhelming amount of information that we all are exposed to in the written format usually. So who speaks sows, who listens reaps. And William Shakespeare said very rightly, give every man thy hair, but few thy voice. And this line I repeated a day before back as well. If you have nothing to say nothing. So what are the commonest communication skills? Listening, speaking. These will always be two ways. And listening acquires more of importance than speaking sometimes. Because unless you listen, process that information, comprehend that, then only you'll be able to say draw an inference out of it and then speak properly or give back. The yellow scratches are a part of the presentation. These are part of the slide design, not exactly scratches. So reading and writing, observing and understanding. So if I were to ask you a percentage, how much percentage of our spoken words are misunderstood, misinterpreted, rejected, disliked, or not heard? You'll be shocked to see the number 70%. So that is the reason spoken words acquire a lot of importance. So, as they say, if you have nothing to say nothing. Just an example of how to deal with the angry patient. I've done this in a separate presentation as well, but then don't delegate the angry patient to someone else. First, let the angry patient vent out his feelings properly. Do not lead or second guess. Actively listen and pay full attention. And again, body language requires a lot of importance. Try to actually firstly allow them or say even guide them to sit down and then say. Some people won't agree to it. They'll actually want to blurt out everything when they are there. But if you behave in a decent manner, say take charge of the situation politely, they might speak in a calm voice, because if you are getting agitated yourself, this will actually enhance your breathing also. Avoid the urge to argue as well. Then there are different words when we talk to the patient, different words that can be used to basically say choose your communication effectively. For pain, you can use the word discomfort. For short, anesthetic, pull, remove, drill, prepare tooth, filling, restoration, and so on. So in communication, we always say build bridges, not walls, because bridges can be crossed, walls cannot be crossed always. And sometimes it takes only a single thought to move the world. So these are the commonest lines. Watch your thoughts, because it all starts from a thought. Because thoughts will become words. And what your words are, they'll become your actions, and actions become habits. Habits become a character, and character defines your destiny. So it all started from a wrong thought, which became words. So you need to understand that part. The single biggest problem in communication is we believe that it has taken place, whereas unfortunately it has not. We actually presume that the other person might have understood. अगर आप मेरे को जानते हो तो आप मेरे को ये भी जानते होगे कि मेरे मन के अंदर क्या चल रहा है. It's not always true. We assume and presume many a times. We need to understand those things, that communication has to take place verbally. When it does, yes, not always it will be verbal, but whenever it is verbal, it has to be very clear, concise. Words are just words, and without heart, they have no meaning. So have a lot of compassion in what you speak. So the power of spoken words. What is the hallmark of patient satisfaction in any practice? Retrain yourself with a systematic approach. Whatever the way you have been following might not be good. Maybe your way of talking to the patient, maybe your way of consultation to the patient might not be good. Be 100% consistent with every patient. And my favorite line, once again, patients don't care how much you know until they think you care. And because it ultimately has to be job satisfaction and patient satisfaction, both go hand in hand. If you are happy and satisfied, you tend to believe that the other thing would also be true. But then all this starts with talking, using words, which you have to use very carefully. I'll give you an example of Randa Zalman. She is a marketing and communication expert in Europe. And she says patient communication strategy can be adopted using the acronym RESPECT. We all are used to using a lot of acronyms in our practice, in our college life, remembering many of the say side effect symptoms through different settled even say for the cranial nerves we all had a acronym. I hope you all remember them. UPTA, FAGWA. So R for repo, smallest details, physical appearance, your level of eye contact with the patients, or how often you use the names while talking to the patient. And this all has to be done with proper attention. Then explain, ask patients about more about their history, more and about their uh, say chief complaint and other things which might be related to the patient's current problem, because that will give you a further insight to have a judgment about their needs and wants. And the more intelligent questions you use, the more they'll be engaged in conversation with you, because patients will summarize that all into one line. डॉक्टर ने सब कुछ मेरी बात पहले ध्यान से सुनी, समझी and then treatment start किया. This one line makes a lot of difference when he or she is going to talk to his family, colleagues, references, friends, whatever. This one line is going to make a lot of difference. But for this one line to come out of patient's mouth, you have to pay a lot of say attention. Then show, even if you have to deliver a constructive criticism, either to a patient, either to a staff, you have to be very, very selective. The ratio Zalman recommends is 7:1. 7 compliments for every 1 statement of criticism. Just like a sandwich feedback. As I gave you an example, again, the sandwich feedback presentation is also on YouTube. So you can actually intermingle, say, intertwine those criticisms in the layers of compliments. Then practice. We always say practice makes a man perfect. Of course, it makes women as well, but that is the adage. But we practice our own work. Do we practice communication with the patient? How many of us actually practice ourselves before a long consultation next day, which is for a case planning? Hardly. Few of us. What it does, role play, what it does actually is that you are prepared to answer any of the bouncers from the patient as well. The patients might have a different answer or different question, which even you might not have envisaged, and you might try to cover it. Let's suppose, again, just a factitious situation, the consultation is for multiple missing teeth, single teeth, tooth missing, here and there. You are not doing implants. You are going to give a consultation for the patient to choose between a PFM and a zirconia, considering all other factors are controlled. So just assume and rule out any other periodontal or any other factors, presuming that that situation is favorable. You go on giving the presentation about the types of bridges, starts from metal, goes up to PFM, goes up to precious metals, probably then zirconias, metal freeze, and all those. You give the patient listens to you and asks you, can't we do implants? Number one scenario. Number two scenario, you are doing implants, but you presumed कि अगर पेशेंट को इम्प्लांट बताया तो पेशेंट भाग जाएगा. So again, the conversation will start from the bridges. We assume that the patient did not or could not afford implants. So again, our conversation starts from there. Maybe start from RPD and then go up to bridges, eliminating implants from the conversation. Again, the patient asks you, can't we do implants? What message does it send across to you? The patient has done his homework. Yes, courtesy Google uncle or Dr. Google, as I say. The patient has done his homework. You might be caught unaware. Number two, you're breaching on the patient's fundamental right. The Supreme Court accorded this right to all the patients in 2007 and 8, making it a duty for every clinician. You're supposed to give patient all the options, whether he or she can afford it or not, and whether the dentist or the doctor is offering it or not. So whether you're doing implants or not, and whether the patient can afford it or not, you're supposed to give these options. And these recommendations from Supreme Court happened in 2007 and 8, 13 years back, 14 years back. So you need to realize that you need to do your homework first. And whatever situation, the patient's question in both the scenarios, can't we do implants? If you are doing it, yes, we can do it, but I thought you might not be able to afford it. This is a personal attack, which I call it. The second situation, presuming you're not doing it, sometimes you call a consultant, sometimes you are not making a diagnosis based on the fact that whether the patient can get an implant done or not. So you are not doing it yourself. In that case, हाँ वो भी कर सकते हैं, पर वो महंगा बहुत है, कामयाब नहीं है, इतना खर्चा बहुत आ जाएगा आपको. Again, a personal comment, intertwined, trying to hide your own abilities. That is where the patient actually notices your tone, which went from being confident to lesser one, from, with no disrespect, from Narendra Modi to Manmohan Singh in terms of tone. Again, no respect, please. So to anyone. So this is the way, a strong tone to an undermined tone. The patient notices that. He was very strongly and confidently conveying me the options. Suddenly he went defensive. Why? या तो इसको आता नहीं है या ये करते नहीं है. In this scenario, the other scenario, मेरे को लगा आप अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकते हो. मेरे को टुच्चा समझा, मेरे को गरीब समझा इसने. Both the ways where you actually try to be defensive, one out of your presumption that the patient can't afford it, one out of your inability that yes, मैं तो इम्प्लांट करता नहीं, कंसल्टेंट को बुलाना पड़ेगा, उसके नखरे बहुत है, whatever reasons. Both the cases, practically you were at fault. So you thought that you are giving the best choice in the world to the patient, which actually was not the best as well. Again, presuming all other bone and periodontal factors are okay. I'm not going into those parts. So try to understand that it was your mistake first. How you convey it to the patient, it makes a lot of difference. So when you say practice, we practice on the, say, doing on the dummies, say applying rubber dam sheet, we practice on the dummies, opening up root canals, making crown preps. But have we ever practiced communication skills? कोई बात नहीं, मैं हैंडल कर लूंगा. We actually we take it for granted. We believe that बोलना, खाना, करना ये तो रूटीन काम है, तो हर बंदा कर लेता है, मैं भी कर लूंगा. No, every personality is a different one. Every person can't talk that strongly or that confidently to the patient, even if they are skillful in that. And sometimes the reverse is also true. People are less skillful, they don't know the art, but they can talk very strongly. And balanced personalities are very rare sometimes as well. So then empathy. Avoid being judgmental. I just gave you an example. Be encouraging to your patients. Again, verbal and non-verbal, both cues. I'll take up the queries and then Dr. Divya. So collaboration. Partner with your patients to tell them why you're doing, what you're doing, how you're doing. And it is ultimately patient's right as well. Technology, we all know how to communicate in a different way and use technology as a boon, not as a bane. And you have to be clear and direct. And whenever you have to use technology to send messages to patient as well, do take a prior permission. So that brings me to the latter half of the presentation, the 7 wonders of communication. So we all have heard about the word communication. but we are actually not aware about the full concept of it. And good communication means good motivation as well. And the sooner we start doing it, the sooner we'll realize that yes, it makes a lot of difference in our practice. Then, number one wonder of communication is mind reading. We all try to mind read. पेशेंट किस में आया है, कौन से व्हीकल पे आया है, कैसा ड्रेसअप किया है, कैसे बात कर रहा है. He or she might not be able to afford us. As we say, start making assumptions and presumptions. Trust me, we can't literally read others' minds, howsoever you might be trained at it. Maybe a few of your family members you can do, couple of close friends, but the patients are not your close friends or your family members that you interact almost on a daily basis. They're there for you, with you for a short period, maybe extended period of month, 1.5 month, but then not beyond that. अरे हम लोग अपना माइंड नहीं पढ़ सकते हैं, दूसरों को कहां से पढ़ेंगे? My practice management session always starts with the first line: know yourself. Knowing yourself is a bigger art than knowing others. हम लोग खुद को नहीं जान पाते and we presume that हम पेशेंट का 1 मिनट में 1 सेकंड में पढ़ लेंगे, which is not true. We underestimate and overestimate sometimes, and we actually want to believe that what our judgment is correct. It's not. Then belief systems and objective truths. We try to make preconceived notions, prejudging everyone. That is wrong. If we do that, we actually have to believe that we don't know really about anything. So take the truth as it comes and try to judge the patient with an open mind. Do not believe in having a preconceived notion. पहले ही ओपिनियन बना के बैठेंगे, it will be very difficult for you to change. Then the GPS of your soul, motivation. Trust me, if I have to say what drives any human being for any, say, having a purpose in life, it is one word for me: motivation. Without motivation, everybody or most of us are nothing. Most of the times I'm self-motivated, most of the times I'm motivated by anyone, but I do get demotivated as well. And trust me, this is one of the worst phases of anyone's life. Without motivation, it is the fuel of our vehicle and we don't know how much fuel there is, and when it runs out, we are left stranded in the middle of sometimes a desert or a glacier or an ocean. The kind of vehicle we drive, depending on our thoughts. So again, I believe that motivation is a very important life skill, because that is the one which actually helps us work towards our goals. What motivates me to take a session for a free group where only 22 people are present out of 1300 plus at 7 a.m. in the morning, when I had a game a day before and I have a game tomorrow as well, and I needed to rest? What gives me motivation? Then many things are self-driven. You need to understand that there has to be a purpose in someone's life, and without a purpose you can't have goal, and goals are the stepping stones, and motivation actually helps those like an engine to chug towards them, your dreams. Then सबसे मुश्किल काम किसी को ना कहना, the art of saying no creatively. If you are able to do that creatively without hurting anyone, you will be saved from so many rifts and conflicts in communication, especially. Some people have a habit of being used. They actually can't say a no. And trust me, it is for your own good only. Because सबको हाँ कहने का मतलब है you want to be goody in everyone's eyes. And this holds true for your staff also, for your patients also. If you say yes, कोई बात नहीं, दांत आपके हिल रहे हैं, अबटमेंट्स दोनों हिल रही हैं, मैं फिर भी आपको 3 यूनिट ब्रिज दे दूंगा, कोई बात नहीं. You are actually damaging yourself, your reputation as well. When you say yes to everything, you actually are making your own resources thin. Ultimately, you will be overworked. You can't be over efficient every time. You'll have a below efficient work or a subpar work, as we say. And then when you take on too much, you deliver less, which is ultimately going to give you lesser respect or lesser work as well. हम लोग इसी चाह में काम करते हैं. Yes, we actually can say or get more business, more work, be in the good book of friends, family, patients by saying a yes to everyone's work. A yes man is not always a happy man, and a yes man is not always a successful man. Again, ignore the man word, it can be women also. And a yes man cannot be always delivering an efficient work as well. Then verbal aikido. This is one of my favorites for peaceful conflict management. Verbal aikido we always also call as verbal self-defense. It is the way to actually de-escalate. Some people have a, say, conflict arising nature, or maybe it can be in a way where you have to actually, as they say in Punjab, the two people I gave an example, they both are attackers only. In verbal aikido, one of the people or one of the one who is actually escalating the one is known as the attacker, and the other one is attacked or being attacked. So if somebody says again you are late for work today, again attacker saying something, attacked replies, the one being attacked replies, yes, I am late and I'm sorry for it. This has become a habit with you, you do it daily. Again, a further mode to escalate tension. How to apply it in clinic, I'll let you know. The bus was wrong. Sorry, my car got a flat tire. It was punctured. I didn't know, so I got late. How many times will you make the same excuse? I make sure I will not make the same excuse and I will not repeat it in future. Let's get on to the work. What actually the being attacked has done is he's prevented the escalation of the conflict. He's tried to inflict it or deflect it. He's tried to divert the attention from there. Similarly, apply this in your clinic. आज फिर लेट हो गए आप. Yes, our tone might be better to the patient than the one I just told you in the example. डॉक्टर साहब मेरी घड़ी बंद पड़ गई थी. We might not say it. अगला सेंटेंस होगा हर बारी का आपका यही बहाना है. मैम आप ऐसे लेट आओगे तो फिर मैं आपका ट्रीटमेंट कैसे करूंगा? If the patient is a she, if the patient is a he, सॉरी सर मैं आपका ट्रीटमेंट नहीं कर सकता, मेरा अगला पेशेंट आने वाला है. If the patient says, if the patient is again gets into the attacker mode, he same will reply, 15 मिनट लेट होने से कोई जान तो नहीं निकल गई, क्या हो गया, बंदे को कोई मजबूरी भी हो सकती है. But if the patient is on the attacked side, he will say, I'm sorry, I will not repeat it. Now imagine a reverse situation. डॉक्टर मेरे को आधा घंटा हो गया वेट करते, आपको इतनी तो कर्टसी होनी चाहिए, आप मेरे को बता दो. I've told the phenomenon of ASAP by Margaret Sumption of US many times. There is a video on this also on YouTube. So, sorry sir, there was an emergency going on and there was a lot of bleeding. We actually couldn't inform you. आपका स्टाफ तो आगे बता सकता था अगर आपने नहीं बताया. Now imagine if you turn from defensive to offensive mode, what will you do? मेरे लिए जो अंदर बैठा ना जिसकी ब्लीडिंग हो रही है वो ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है, आप इतने इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं हो मेरे लिए. Imagine we might be showing the care to the inside patient, but we are actually changing the tone and showing rude behavior. We are trying to do a favor to the inside patient, but the tone is sending a wrong message to that patient as well, for whom we have delivered. and he might be in a different mode of conversation. It was supposed to be a normal procedure. उन्होंने तो बोला था bleeding नहीं होनी है, अब ये bleeding हो गई है, ऊपर से मेरा नाम लेके दूसरे पेशेंट को बोल रहे हैं. उसकी कन्वर्सेशन, उसकी गंगा अलग से बह रही है, उसको छोड़ो. Let's presume forget that for a moment. Then when we said कि मेरे लिए वो ज्यादा जरूरी है, the patient says ठीक है फिर, okay. Sometimes the patient will blurt out okay and barge out of the clinic. They'll rarely go out in the defensive mode. इतना तो आप मेरे को बता देते, rarely it will happen because anger agitates everyone. But the same, if the patient, when he said आपका staff तो बता सकता था, then if you are being attacked and you apply a de-escalation strategy, really sorry sir, once again one staff member is absent today, the other one was assisting me, it was a 400 procedure, we could not actually say afford to do that, I'm really sorry about it, this won't be repeated in future. And this is again a way of de-escalating tension. The words and the tone and of course a little bit of body language actually play a role in this, and the mental and the emotional safety is acquired. And conflict management में body language का बहुत बड़ा role है, followed by the tone and followed by the choice of words in reverse order, as I said. And a potentially volatile situation can actually say sometimes can be physically violent also, many a times. It always happens in Punjab, at least not with the patients usually, but at least in the friends. The normal situation, because the body language, the tone and the choice of words all are hypertrophied or hyper aggressive, again using the two say adjectives in that one sentence, in one word, sorry. So then it always is better how to de-escalate, taking a time out, deflecting the conversation to less argumentative topic and redirecting to another topics. So that is the best way to de-escalate. Unfortunately, this kind of conflict resolution we are not again trained in, but verbal Aikido is one of the best ways of peaceful conflict management. So basic strategy is via 3-step approach, how to actually balance the energy. Receiving the attack with an inner smile. Beware, do not use an outer smile because it will further fuel the anger of the attacker. Again, as they say, na, all is well, 3 idiots. Say, mentally soothe yourself with an inner smile. कोई बात नहीं, गलती मेरी थी तो सुन रहा हूँ, कोई बात नहीं. Listen with an inner smile. Then accompanying the attack to a point of destabilization. Then rebalancing the attack so that the attacker may save face. Sometimes counter attack also. Fine. If the same is there. Now, going back to that patient and where the doctor was or the dentist was controlling the bleeding. If you have to do that, sir, पिछले 2 बार से आप, again, maintaining the tone. Sir, पिछले using the 3rd step, rebalancing the attack. Sir, पिछले 2 बार से आप आधा घंटा लेट आए. I still attended to you. आज आपको वेट करना पड़ा तो आप माइंड करिए. Please don't do that. It can happen with anyone. It happened with me twice when you were late. I made you wait. I had a reason and a situation. You might be having a situation. Again, the patient might not react to that if you talk in a soft manner, but he'll have a situation where he'll have to save face and he won't go away. He'll sit down meekly in your reception room or maybe ask you, okay, I understand. How much time will it further take? Sir, we'll be free in 10 minutes. That's okay. So that is the way. Again, the importance of your SWOT analysis. Same presentation is on YouTube as well. All these are interconnected. All these presentations, I make it as a chain process and then I deliver. So of course, the continuity is not for the free group members. It is there for the paid group members, of course, many times in many situations. But then use your strengths and weaknesses to counter over it. You can use your strengths and weaknesses only if you know yourself. That is the first step in practice management as well. First step, know yourself. Second step, know your patient. The rest other follow later. So inflection, intonation, pitch, and emphasis. These are actually very important in understanding and mastering any conversation or any communication exchange. Then metaphors, a simple way to common ground. Metaphors are usually comparisons when we say, Her eyes are like diamonds. Your heart is like, heart is like gold, as we say, a heart of gold. So this is the way actually we can sometimes de-escalate tensions as well. A similar situation, sir, आप तो बड़े हो, आप तो understand कर सकते हो. Emergency can happen to anyone. We actually compared maybe whatever age the person was to a person full of wisdom, a feeling of self-adulation in that patient, which actually say makes the self-esteem go up. And when the self-esteem goes up, the tension is automatically de-escalated. I talked about 2 days back, praise and criticism both should not be taken too much into, because both are eventually forms of communication. But yes, we are hurt more by the criticism and happy less by the praise. Then learning strategies and exceptions. This is the seventh wonder of communication. Reinforce active listening. Listening is an art. You need to have a space between your ears. You need to be patient while talking to the patient. The one is the patient with the patience, and the other one is the patient literally. Ask open-ended questions which will help you arrive at the basic problem. Then use tasks and activities that will actually enhance your critical thinking. What actually? We are so bogged down in our clinical world and lot of load over it that we hardly raise our hood like a snake or like anyone to look at the ongoings. As I say, look beyond the four walls of the clinic. Look at the forest and the trees. Learn reflective learning opportunities. सारा दिन बहुत सारे पेशेंट करके आप बहुत कुछ नहीं सीखोगे. कई बार कुछ दिनों में कुछ पेशेंट्स करके आप बहुत कुछ सीखोगे. It is how you actually manage your exchange, your communication ways, your skills with the patient that is going to make a lot of difference in your clinical life. You need to understand that. And trust me, this is going to play a good role in that. So, looking at these 7 wonders, I feel you might be a little bit confused. But then let me give you 10 basic summary points for today. So, never ignore the basic pleasantries in your clinic as a basic 10 rules of communication. Greet your patients with smile, and obviously when you spread positive energy, it sets the tone for your basic conversation. And any pleasantry like a good morning, how are you, have a good day, these are small talks. Don't underestimate their importance. Then take your time even if you are in a rush. You need to give the patient the time and respect they deserve. You might be super busy, but you need to give your full attention when you're listening to the patient. Do not keep on checking your watch, fiddling with your mobile, looking at your staff, making your attention of your eyes go haywire. It could actually irritate or upset your patient as well. Then explain simply as you can. I believe that we have a lot of technical jargon in our field, but we need to explain many things like a school student to or a middle class student to our patients. Yes, Google has made a lot of things easier for us. Many of the patients have their homework already done, but then use plain simple language. Ask your patients if they understood everything. Some patients might be nodding, but then ask them if they actually understood what you have told. Ask them to parrot it back to you. Parrot it back means, I hope you understand. Whatever you said, let them reply back to you so that you can correct any mistakes in their understanding and answer any questions if they have. And again, for any treatment to begin, for consent also, that one line holds good. Both you and the patient understood the same thing in the same sense. That is the bottom line of consent as well. And that holds good in communication as well. So collaborate with your patients. Talk about your recommendations, what you think. It is like a partnership with them. You have to give them all the options, explaining the pros and the cons, and you believe that you have to say take their input as well. Obviously, many patients do ask questions. Ask them to their, or sorry, answer them to their full satisfaction. Then talk about patients' lives too. Small informal conversations can be actually a tool to assess information that will be doing it. Sometimes patients might ignore certain kind of basic information. They'll say, डॉक्टर मुझे इतने बजे मत बुलाओ, मुझे खाना खाना होता है. खाना क्यों खाना होता है? दवाई लेनी होती है. दवाई कौन सी लेते हो? अच्छा हाँ, ये भी दवाई मैं लेती हूँ, मैं बताना भूल गया, whatever. Certain kinds of informal communication will reveal out many secrets, which they not deliberately, but sometimes may have forgotten that, which is very common with many patients. So never ignore those aspects. Then an eye contact always. It is very important for giving or showing the patient that you are paying them undivided attention. And studies have also shown that if a doctor lets a patient speak uninterrupted for 3 to 4 minutes, they will tell you up to 90% of what's wrong with them. And we actually don't look at the symptoms properly. We try to interrupt, we try to cut short their talk, whatever they are talking. And we tend to believe that we know everything. And most of the times the patients will have this complaint, doctor ने हमारी बात ठीक से सुनी ही नहीं. And that is very common. Then avoid being judgmental. Verbally and non-verbally, you have to be empathetic. And if the patient is actually hell-bent on making a poor choice, do not make a personal assault. Be calm and understanding. If the patient can afford it for a missing tooth, still the patient chooses a RPD with the wired RPD, we call it the gum stripper. Just try to explain the patient calmly about it. And if you don't want to actually harm the patient, refuse the patient the same. No harm in that. You're still not going to earn more than 1,000, 2,000 bucks out of that, but refuse it. Trust me, many times you will have a conversion to what you want. Then another acronym for really sick patients or really troubled patients, as we say, AMEN. Affirm, meet, educate, and no matter what, assure them. Again, being empathetic is a choice, and but don't give them hopes. Don't give a fractured tooth patient a hope that ये नहीं अपने आप बीच में इसमें जुड़ जाएगा, प्लास्टर लगा देंगे जुड़ जाएगा. Don't say give some such examples of miracles. Then take advantage of technology. We have a lot of tools to stay in touch with the patients, and COVID-19 has changed our way of working to a lot extent. Show your patients how you use your technology and how you're going to use it for their betterment. So I hope the early morning lecture did not make you sleep like penguins and kept you warm as well. It's a little bit cold in North India, courtesy rain 2 days back. But then coming it up or summing it up with the carry home gyan. So communication is effective whether it creates preferred recent results, for so it was intended. Example, if you have to inform staff कि कल late नहीं आना, we are not actually conveying them that you have to be on time. It actually, there is a way. We are all excited to begin with everyone on early day tomorrow, and we hope कल surgery जो सुबह हमने रखी है वो ठीक हो जाए. There is a way to convey to staff as well. This is just a very small example, because the way we communicate, it indeed needs to have a lot of focus, and we need to find a way to get our ideas and feelings to people, and it will take a lot of effort. You have to think from other person's perspective, be in his or her shoes, and then try to implement it or say convey your thoughts. You can be more persuasive if you know the reasons of potential resistance, but then you will know only if you listen to them कि किस कारण वो resistance दे रहे हैं to your demand, if I may say so. So great communicators are highly efficient. Any organization can grow only if the communication skills are better in them, and it actually makes everyone become cooperative as well, and reduces a lot of workplace difficulties. So be a go-getter. To change your life, it is deciding it's time to step up and do just that. So thank you so much for a patient hearing, and I hope I stuck to my time of 70 minutes. So this is my address, my email. Since this presentation will later on go on YouTube as well, so it's a formality to do all the say details. Then YouTube channel, I mentioned about a lot of videos about consultation, anger management, patient conversion. All of them are on YouTube. You can search for them, and if you forget, just type in the word Dr. Bhavdeep Oja. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. You'll be getting videos every week, surely till the mid of June from today. So those who are interested in reading Idea Times, I've been writing a column for almost 4.5 years now. All of them are on my website, so you can use this link directly to say download and read them. All of them are very small KB size particles. My social media presence all by my name, Dr. Bhavdeep, without any name, without any underscore dot. So you can get in touch with me on any of the platforms. So please do send me a valuable feedback in the WhatsApp group wherever you are. Bouquets and brickbats both would be welcome in equal measure. Thank you so much. And I stop my presentation for taking up the queries firstly from the chat and then from anyone who wants to ask live. Thank you so much. Okay. Dr. Raghu, okay, you asked me that. Dr. Divya. So patients want to know the treatment and treatment cost in the first appointment itself. Should we insist on a second consultation visit by a patient? How to convince patient to visit again for treatment discussion? See, Dr. Divya, there are multiple facets to it. If we are, say, dealing with a window shopper patient who's just interested in costing and not listening to the whole discussion or the options available, then you ought to convey the price and let the patient go. We should not be afraid of losing the patient, number one, because the problem with us is that we want to treat everyone who gets through the door, which is practically not possible. So if the patient is willing to return for a discussion, just drop in a hint over there that there are multiple facets to it other than the cost, why we are charging, why this is there are multiple options. Leave something open ended in that, so that it urges the patient to come back. But if the patient is just interested in price, tell them, take your consultation and let them go. No harm in losing certain window shoppers. You can't treat everyone. Dr. Mayur asks, I have done treatment of one of my old patients, have completed the chief complaint tooth at the end of treatment. Told IND about remaining teeth. IND means information and education that need further treatment. But patient got angry saying, why didn't you say in first sitting? So how do we manage such situations? The thing is, if your first chief complaint took long, the patient might feel angry. But there is a way to again uh, adopt a verbal Aikido approach or try to de-escalate the situation. Do not get angry yourself. Just try to de-escalate the situation by letting the patient know that you came to us with a chief complaint. We also didn't have a look at other things. Our first prerogative was to alleviate you of your current pain and swelling or whatever the chief complaint was. And once we are done it, as a part of our duty, we are doing it. Since you didn't ask us to do, but still we, as a part of our duty, again, as I say, the attacker and the attacked philosophy has to be understood very correctly. So I think your question was just before that when I gave the examples of the attacker and the attacked. You can deflect the same back to the patient in a way that the patient understands that yes, I didn't ask, still he is doing it as a duty and telling me, and if I don't get it done, it is ultimately my loss. And again, you can add the time factor as well, since there are other procedures which could not be combined with your current procedure, and then you were suffering from this side, how could we touch the other side? There are multiple parameters that you can involve while conveying it back to the patient, and from being attacked to becoming an attacker, of course, in a polite tone. So remember that philosophy of verbal Aikido. I hope my answer was clear to you. So, sir, should we take consultation fee for the second consultation? That is discussion appointment. See, Dr. Divya, this is a different scenario for everyone. What I believe that if you are spending your good amount of time for case discussion, case planning, or whatever you say, discussion appointment, I do charge. And I charge sometimes 3 times of my normal consultation. And I let the patient know about that. The patient should be aware of what you're going to charge and why you're going to charge. If it is a long case, that requires a lot of case planning. Yes, if that can span for a couple of sittings, you're not supposed to charge for every sitting. Charge once for your case planning. But if the patient wants to have any doubt clearing session with you, again, don't charge for that. But prior inform the patient about this, that case planning will require a lot of say effort on your side in diagnosis and treatment planning, and you will be charging this much amount for that. Trust me, this is one of the say first steps in conversion as well. If the patient is not actually say willing to pay that, he will not be willing to pay for the whole long case as well. It holds true. Okay. Hmm. Any more queries? Okay, yes. When we give patient fees bill or consent form, should we use technical words like zirconia crown? Zirconia can be substituted by metal free. Composite can be by resin filling or a light care composite or a light care resin. And a class 2 filling the chewing surface along with the proximal wall or the side wall. You can write in bracket with that. Just write dental filling, white caps. I just gave an example of these things. The top filling, the surface filling along with the side wall is a class 2 filling. So you can use the patient language as well in the bracket if you're going to give it in written. So there is no harm in doing that. So the patients will understand, because ultimately even in consent it has to be in patient language only, the language patient understands. And try to avoid as much as technical jargon you can, but wherever it is unavoidable, write the translation in the bracket, just as I gave you an example. The metal free cap is a better word rather than a white cap, because white cap can be acrylic cap also, can be a PFM cap also, that can be slightly misleading. So better to deal in a correct language, whatever you can. Okay. So Dr. Raghuvana asks, I had a patient who came for second visit for RCT after 7 years now, but wanted temporary filling again on it because he had no pain. How to manage such patients? The first thing is explain the patient everything about the pros and the cons of leaving such a tooth open, and then explaining the other consequences of not getting the treatment done, infection and all those things. And even the gravest one is, if you want to convey, you can convey it in a different manner. But even then, if the patient is hell bent upon doing it, take a written consent once again from the patient that everything was explained to the patient, but the patient is not willing to complete the treatment and wants to say get a temporary measure for that. Get the consent form signed from the patient and do the temporary filling and send the patient away. Or the second way can be refuse to do the temporary filling. Again, if the patient is not willing to get the treatment done, how much will you earn from a temporary filling? Maybe a few hundreds. So it is better to refuse the patient and mention the same in your record, that the patient reported after 7 years, and in spite of explaining everything, he was not still willing to continue with the treatment. So ultimately, we refuse the patient. So both the ways, either of the way, you can adopt, whatever you feel comfortable. So I'm done with the questions in the chat. So any more questions you want to ask live, you can. Thank you, Dr. Divya. Do post your feedback in the WhatsApp group, whatever you want to. Any more queries? Please feel free to ask. Thank you, Dr. Raghu. Okay then. For the paid group members, we have our the weekly Friday Chai Pe Charcha at 8 p.m. And today's topic would be on insurance only. I'll be putting the link in the paid group. So thank you so much. I'll be taking a finance group session for the free group members. The attendance has not been very encouraging, probably the morning, but I'll try in the evening for the finance part also. Next week, probably around 8. I'll notify the day a day before. So probably Wednesday only at 8 p.m. And then I'll take up something interesting on finance for the free group members as well. So thank you so much. And please do post your feedback in the WhatsApp groups wherever you are, whatever you say derived from this presentation. Okay. Take care, guys. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr.